I'm Kim, the Abundant Traveler, and welcome to the channel. I put out laid-back luxury travel videos, giving you tips and tricks, ideas, and inspiration to make your trips much more fun and a lot easier. Today, I am continuing my series on the Amalfi Coast, and I'm going to be discussing the Path of the Gods hike, one of the most famous hikes in the entire world. I'm going to be sharing how long it takes, where it is, what time to go, how to get there, and what to bring on your hike. So let's go ahead and get started. First, let's talk about where the name Path of the Gods came from. Legend has it that the Greeks led Odysseus away and saved him from the mermaids or the sirens. You see so many things in the Amalfi Coast named after sirens, and I don't mean sirens as in whoop, whoop, whoop. I mean sirens, mermaids, the women of the sea. So this particular path actually was the main path before there were roads in the Amalfi. If you wanted to go between villages, like between Bomerano, Nocelle, Positano, this is how you got around. It is a gorgeous path. It is anywhere the hike is about 7 kilometers long, and it will take you 2 to 3 hours depending on how often you stop to take photos. Let's talk a little bit about what it actually is. The Path of the Gods is a hike between the town of Bomerano and the town of Nocelle. You can go in either direction. The best part about going from Bomerano to Nocelle, it is a little bit more downhill. Again, as I mentioned, it's about 7 kilometers. It'll take you 2 to 2.5 hours. I took 3 hours because I stopped, I enjoyed, I brought a snack, had a little late breakfast, really enjoyed it and really soaked up the sights and the views. It's a relatively easy hike, so they say, but I found the steps quite slick. I found a lot of rocks and things. The path is maintained, but it is not well maintained. There's a lot of traffic, so things are, the ground is beat down very well, but there are loose rocks, there are steps that are not so solid. So if you are not super agile, I'm not sure I would recommend doing this hike. So how do you get up to Bomerano or Nocelle? The best way to go is from the town of Amalfi and take the SITA bus. The SITA, S-I-T-A, is the local bus. It'll only cost you about €2.50 to get up to Bomerano. And if you want to buy a ticket, I would suggest that you go to one of the tobacco shops to buy your bus ticket in advance. You can't always buy a ticket when you get on the bus. Also, when you get on the bus, no matter where you're going in the Amalfi, make sure to take that ticket and validate it. So I was staying in Positano, and I decided that I was going to take the first bus out of Positano into Amalfi. So I left Positano at 6:25 a.m., got to Amalfi about 30 minutes later, waited about 15 minutes, and took the Amalfi bus up to Bomerano. So I had 2 bus tickets and I had 2 bus rides. Bomerano is actually the first stop in the town of Agirola, which the bus drivers, don't worry, they'll tell you where to get off. It's very easy. Also, Agirola, if you are interested, they are famous for their mozzarella cheese. So if you have a few extra minutes and the shops are open, then make sure to stop and pick up some of their famous cheese in the area. So that is the easiest way and the least expensive way to get up there is by that SITA bus. However, a more convenient way, if you feel like it, is to take a private driver. Have your private driver drop you off in Bomerano and come around the other side and pick you up in Nocelle. That would be amazing. It's gonna probably cost you €100 maybe. The other thing that you can do is to take a guide, and guides go from Sorrento, Salerno, Amalfi, Positano, the main cities across the Amalfi. You could take a private guide, and if you're interested in a guide, a group or a private, go to the description below because I have left several links for some wonderful recommended guides so you can actually learn about the entire area as you're taking your hike. One way I do not recommend is bringing your own car. If you have a rental car, I'd say just leave it because you're actually going to be parking in Bomerano and then you're gonna walk to Nocelle and then you gotta find a way to get from Nocelle back to Bomerano, which could be a bus down, a bus over, a bus back up. So just leave your rental car at home and take the bus or take a private driver or hire a guide. It is recommended to take this hike as early as possible, and if you can get up there at sunrise, that would be amazing. They say that's the best time to do this hike. Now, of course, the buses can't get you there at sunrise necessarily, but if you have another way to get there, that's perfect. As I mentioned, I took the earliest bus from Positano and one of the earliest buses from Amalfi, and I started my walk around 8 o'clock in the morning. You get dropped off at the bus stop, and the bus driver points over there and he says, go that way. So you walk through some apartment buildings, through this random path, and then you end up in the square of Bomerano. When in the square, there's plenty of pastries and coffee to be had, so if you need to stop and get some breakfast, that is a good place to do. Also, if it's a little bit later in the day, there are a few shops open to get some sandwiches. My recommendation though is to bring snacks and plenty of water with you. So once you've walked through the square, there are signs leading you to the actual beginning of the Path of the Gods. It's also a bit strange going through town. First you walk through apartments, then you come into the town square, then you're walking out a little lane that has stone walls around it, and then you walk down a set of steps and you cross a creek, and then you're walking up other steps and crossing a bridge, and it doesn't feel like the Path of the Gods that you see in blog posts or on videos. It isn't until you get up the hill. It's about a 10-minute walk before you hit the sign that says the Path of the Gods. And of course, since we're in Italy, it does not say the Path of the Gods. The actual name in Italian is Sentiero degli. I hope I said that correctly. But it's a great place to stop, take a picture, prove that you have been there and you are starting your hike. By the time I got there, leaving at 6:25 a.m. from Positano, it was probably about 8:15 to 8:30. So it took me 2 hours to get there from Positano. Of course, I did stop, grab a coffee and the like, but it did take quite a while to get up there. So I started walking about 8:30 in the morning, and I finished about 10:45, 11 o'clock. By 10:30 in the morning, it was really, really hot. I hiked in June, I hiked in high season, and it was really, really hot. So the earlier you can get up there, absolutely, it's the best. So what should you take on the Path of the Gods hike? Well, I recommend that, again, you bring snacks, bring a light lunch, bring plenty of water, bring more water than you think you're gonna need. There are a couple of stops along the way where you can get water from the tap and it's safe to drink, but I do recommend, just in case, bring a lot of water. I recommend also bringing some Band-Aids. You just never know when you're walking, you end up with a blister. I also recommend good hiking shoes. You may not need serious hiking shoes, but I wore my Chacos, that was enough. They have more of a hiking bottom. I would not recommend flip-flops or regular tennis shoes. They just don't have enough tread on them. I also suggest that you bring a sun hat, sunscreen, and if you're gonna take a break in the shade, bring a little bit of bug spray. I had my snack in the shade in the forest towards the end of the hike, and it was very, very buggy, and I wish I had bug spray. So those are the things specific to this hike, but if you're looking for the perfect list of everything you need to take on a day hike, make sure to go to the description below and click my free download. It's everything that I take on a day hike, and I do lots and lots of day hikes when I travel. My favorite thing, of course, is my travel backpack because it folds up and it's super, super light. So go to the download in the description below. So what is the actual path like? It is gravelly and rocky. It is dusty as well. There are a few intermittent houses along the way. There are still houses that are inhabited today. I guess they're living off the grid. Also, you will see lots of goats up there. It is a path, and people do live up there and people do work up there. So you will see pack mules coming in, bringing all of the goods. When I ended up in Nocelle waiting on the bus, I saw a gentleman unloading his mules, packing them up and going into the Path of the Gods to deliver wherever he was gonna deliver. Also, you will find there a couple places where you can stop and get an espresso or a lemonade, that type of thing. They're not necessarily open, so don't depend on them, but there are a couple of places. One sort of at the beginning and one before, just maybe a 20 minutes before you get to the town of Nocelle. Do be prepared with food and snacks, and always be prepared when you're hiking for inclement weather. Bring a rain jacket if it might rain. Bring hiking sticks if you're not super agile. It would have been great on some of these steps to have hiking sticks. I don't normally hike with them on just a short hike, but it would have been nice just for a little bit of stability. The topography changes quite a bit as well on the path. At the beginning, it's open glades. There are cliffs and rocks, and it's beautiful, and the sun is coming through, and it's sort of that Mediterranean scrub brush. You can see the towns of Priano along the way. You can actually, when you come around the corner and you see the town of Positano way down there, tiny little town, because you're up in the mountains, it is absolutely stunning. There are plenty of places to stop along the way. The paths are pretty wide, so I wouldn't worry about too much about you being concerned of vertigo or falling off the edge. But it is sort of walking along the edge in the beginning, and of course it's a path that they've used for hundreds of years, so it is relatively safe. Towards the end, you will find a rock garden, you know, where people put their, you know, they pile rocks on top of each other, make a wish. There is a beautiful rock garden, and there are hundreds of those. Can't miss that. And that is actually in the forest. Towards the end, near Nocelle, there is a forest. It is covered, there is more shade, and in that, you have that little rock garden as well. There are a few spots for shade, but not a ton of shade until you get towards the end of the hike. Once you land in Nocelle, you see this amazing sign that says like 10 more minutes to Nocelle, which is fantastic because you are ready for lunch, you are ready to get down, you are ready to go for a swim in the Mediterranean. Well, it is about 10 more minutes through the forest, and then all of a sudden Nocelle opens up. There is right there, the first thing when you walk into town, there is a shop on the left-hand side where you can get lemonade or a coffee or snacks. What is interesting though is I landed in Nocelle about 10:45 and 11 o'clock in the morning, and almost nothing was open. Something to note about the bus stop in Nocelle, the buses only come about once an hour. I missed my bus by like 7 minutes. It had just left, so I ended up waiting another hour before I got on the bus. The best part about waiting for an hour for the bus was the little kiosk in the parking lot where I got the most delicious lemonade and an espresso. By the time the bus arrived, there were a ton of people, and it was like a cattle call. Just make sure that you have your bus ticket in advance and you make a beeline for that bus so you can get a seat. It was packed all the way down, and those roads are switchbacks and windy all the way down, so you don't want to be hanging on for dear life. Hiking the Path of the Gods is well worth it when you are visiting the Amalfi Coast. Get up early, get it done. It only takes your morning, and you just don't want to have too many Aperol spritzes the night before. The views are spectacular. The time spent up in the mountains is well worth it. It is so gorgeous up there. Also, in the afternoon when you get home, you can go have a swim in the Med and plenty of Aperol spritzes. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a comment below of any of your tips for the Path of the Gods. And I am Kim, the Abundant Traveler, and I cannot wait to see you on some amazing day hike very, very soon. Hopefully somewhere close to the Med. See y'all soon. Bye, y'all.